dears, and welcome back to my corner of the internet. I'm Shannon, and today we're going to be doing another book talk video, and today we are talking about The Dazzling Truth by Helen Cullen. I'm excited to talk about this one. But before we do, I feel like I have to mention, I recently started following Helen on Twitter, and I noticed that all of the promo that she would post for the book that had this same cover was called, instead of The Dazzling Truth, the title written on it was The Truth Must Dazzle Gradually. And I don't know what happened in between the book being published where she lives, which I believe, she's Irish, but I think she lives in London, and it coming to North America. I live in Canada, but the title got changed somehow. And I don't like that. I don't like that, because clearly the title that the author picked for the book was The Truth Must Dazzle Gradually. And that's such a great title. When you're done the book, you're like, that's the better title. Well, we have The Dazzling Truth, so I don't know what happened, but here we are. Anyway, this book is the story of a family over, I think, about 3 decades. It's about grief. It's about love. It's about friendship. It's about the relationships that we form, the ways we get broken by the people we love, the ways that we're saved by the people we love. It's literally everything I love in a book is in this book. And it's just so good. Now, I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, and I tend to get a little deep into spoilers in these book talks because a lot of times they're not just simply reviews, they're book talks. So I will try to give it any, I will give a notice before I say any spoilers so that nothing's ruined for anybody. So the book centers around a couple, Maeve and Myrta. They meet in the late 70s. Maeve is originally from America. They meet in Ireland, and they begin their life together. The connection, you know, is pretty instant, and they go on throughout the years to have 4 children. Now, the book begins on Christmas Eve, 2005, and this isn't a spoiler because it's literally happening in the first couple of pages. Maeve has gone missing, and they wake up and she's gone, and they spend the whole day looking for her. And that day they find out that tragedy has come to their family. So then the next chapter, it rewinds all the way back to 1978 when they first met. And then from there, the story travels forward through time. The chapter from the beginning, the first chapter, actually takes place sort of halfway through the book. And then from there, it goes on to deal with the aftermath of what Maeve has done and how everybody deals with it on their own. The children and Myrta as well. I'm really struggling to talk about this without spoilers, so normally it's later in the video, but for right now, I'm gonna say, if you don't want spoilers, click away. It's a fantastic story. If you love all of the things that I talked about at the beginning of this video, grief, family drama, all of that, love, friendship, I would wholeheartedly recommend it. Give it 2 thumbs up. So good. But I am just wanting to jump in here again and just say that even though it deals with all those things and it's an excellent book, it does deal with darker subject matter, depression, things like that, and it can be difficult for some people to read. So do keep that in mind when you decide whether you want to read it or not. But yeah, click away if you don't want spoilers, because there's some things I can't really talk about the book without talking about what happened. So thanks for watching. Let's get into the spoilers. So as you may have been able to piece together based on the little I said before, what had happened was Maeve had taken her own life on that Christmas day. She had filled her pockets full of stones, taken out their little boat, and then intentionally jumped off. She left a note for Myrta on the hook in the boathouse, which we don't get to read until the very last part of the book. And that was very interesting what she had sort of said to him. So, like I said, it leads up to that day, and then it shows us the aftermath of that day. And what we learn as we're reading through the pages of the story, Trixie is just running around. What we learn as we're reading through the pages of the story is that from day one, from the first day Myrta knew Maeve, she struggled. She had deep struggles with depression, and she just couldn't overcome them. No matter how hard she tried, no matter how much she loved her children and her family. And that's something that I thought was very beautifully impressed upon us as the book goes on past the incident, is how Myrta especially knows that like there's one point where he's talking about how angry he is that he's having to, you know, live his life without the love of his life. And he says that the rage is never, or I don't know if it's rage, the anger or hurt is never directed at Maeve. It's directed inward. Like he doesn't, there's just something beautiful about the way that he understands her. You know, not that he should be mad at himself. He did all he could, and at one point one of their family friends says to him, like, you should not have any grief. Nobody could have loved her more than you did, or loved her better than you did. And that was beautiful. And then we look at the children. So the eldest child, whose birthday is on Christmas Eve, which was also when, that's the one thing that makes me the saddest, is that Maeve did it on Christmas Eve. I feel like that's just something that's gonna stick with the kids and kind of ruin Christmas for the rest of their lives, which, as we see in the book, it kind of does. But, you know, she did what she did. And anyway, so the eldest daughter, Nolag, I think, I Googled pronunciation tips for a lot of these Irish names just so I would hopefully not butcher them. So if I'm butchering them, forgive me. But, so the eldest daughter, Nolag, which I believe is like Irish or Gaelic for Christmas. She's turning 20 on the day that her mother passes away. And then by the time the book is over, it goes for another 10 years afterwards. So she's turning 30 at the end of the book. So we get to see these kids through a good portion of their lives. And we get to see the ways that they're affected by their mom's death. They're all affected very differently, but the one thing that most of them have in common, there's 4, is that they don't really go home much anymore, except for the one girl, Nolag, who decided to stay and take care of their father. The rest of them just don't come home much anymore, and they certainly don't want to spend Christmas there, so they find other places and other ways to spend Christmas together. Until at the end when Nolag is turning 30 and she asks them all to come home. So it's her twin brothers, Thomas and Dylan, and then her sister, Sieve, I don't know, I'm sorry. And they all come home for Christmas, and the grief that had been building up in them for these past 10 years that they didn't know how to express or where to put, it finally kind of comes to a head that Christmas, and they're able to let it out in a safe place because they're home with each other. You know, that's the beautiful thing about family. You can get mad at them, you can vent to them, and they will still love you. So that makes it safe to do so. In the book, it talks about how after they sort of come to verbal blows, they decide that it's time to finally get on with letting their mother go and helping their father let him go in the final way that he hasn't yet. And that is, all of her clothes and belongings are still hanging in the closet. The boat that she used to end her life is still sitting in the boathouse. So they all get together, they take the boat, everything she owned, put it in the boat, light it on fire, and send it out to sea. And that's kind of just like that way of finally being able to let her go as she would have wanted them to. And there's a part in the letter that is finally found that she left behind. and she says that she talks about the impossible task she knows that she's leaving him with. And it says, "I'm sorry that you will have to tell the children to answer impossible questions and help them make sense of all of this. I must accept that it may never make sense to them. It is all but impossible for them to separate me as a woman from their mother." And I just found it really interesting to see what the children took from their mother. Like, in their own ways, they're each a little broken by what had happened, as you would be, in their own separate ways. But it was interesting to see not only the ways they were affected in that way, but also the ways that they were inspired by the kind of woman that their mother was. I thought that was really beautiful, in the ways that they live their lives and the ways that they believe in certain things. I just thought it was really beautiful. And then the ending has a little surprise. I don't want to spoil that, just in case you're going to read the book, just to leave you something to be overjoyed with. It was beautiful. It involves Murta finding new life 10 years after his wife passes on, and it was just really beautiful. And I just loved this book. I picked it up I just read the back, thought, okay, that sounds interesting, but as soon as I started reading it, I knew I was gonna love it. The writing style, the way Helen writes, is beautiful, and it's just, I loved the contrast between, the beautiful picture on the cover, the beautiful title, which apparently isn't quite the title, and then the sort of darkness inside. I liked the contrast of that. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be. It was so much more, and I was so pleasantly surprised. Again, I'm a little confused by the title change. So from now on, I feel like when I'm talking about it, I want to refer to it as The Truth Must Dazzle Gradually, since that's apparently the real title. I don't know why it was changed. But anyway, let me know in the comments down below if you've read this book, if you plan on reading it, what you think of it all. And let me know if you know why the title was changed. That's the great thing about YouTube. People might come across your video who have all kinds of info on how things work, and then they can enlighten you. I love when that happens. Anyway, you guys, I hope you have a fantastic weekend. I hope that you're doing well, you're feeling good, and I will see you guys on Sunday with the next installment of Pride and Prejudice, and then again on Monday with a new vlog. Bye.